Welcome back, everybody. Round number 4. How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing great.
Awesome.
We've seen some really cool matchups today, and some stock with a little bit of spice, obviously. But
Yes. Yeah. I think we have some spice coming to us this round.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We have John Goss on his signature 5-color Niv to Light against Freyer on blue-white control. Anything jumping out to you that you'd want to discuss on these lists, Joe?
I think generally the 5-color Niv to Light list is going to be unfavored here. The blue-white deck really just wants to sit back and counter everything, just eventually get to a spot where it runs the opponent out of resources. And I think the Niv deck is going to struggle to mount any sort of offense.
I would agree with that take. I
Yeah.
think, especially with the blue-white control decks, focusing on having a lot of 2-mana counters, it makes it so that Niv has a very hard time playing the game. So we see it get started here with a Sacred Foundry and a Glacial Force.
Yep. Followed up by a Watery Grave. Cool.
Yes.
John and those expeditions.
Yup. We're gonna have to test our metal, spotting those out.
Yep. Freyer leads with a Field of Ruin, one of the nice Time Spiral remastered old border retro frame, if you will.
And I was testing this deck a lot. Helped John test the deck for the RC. And I would bring up this issue that I was having frequently. And a lot of the times what John would say is just, you got to draw your small stuff. You got to draw a lot of the 3-drops, lots of Wandering Minds, lots of Fables. For those who are unfamiliar with John's list, it's 5-color Niv to Light with 80 cards in the deck list so that we can play Urian as our companion. And then how we fill those slots is sort of unconventional. It can be, in this list, it's Fable of the Mirrorbreaker and Wandering Mind. So Wandering Mind gets found off of Niv. It allows you for extra consistency in your 80-card deck to find your Bring to Lights and your important interaction spells. And then Fable, I think we know how powerful that card is. And why we'd put that.
Is Wandering Mind the card that got countered on turn 3 for John?
Yes, I believe that is a what was that set called?
Double feature?
Yes.
Okay. So it looks like we've just got some land go. John picked up the Yorion, and Freyer has decided to play a Wandering Emperor and make a guy during his turn. I don't know if he's afraid of John having his own counter spells. This seems a little strange to me. Not sure what the advantage of casting this during your main phase is.
Especially when we have lots of counter spells in hand.
Yeah, it does look like Freyer has at least a Dovin's Veto and an Absorb.
Mm-hmm. And I think John is thinking the same thing that we are right now.
Yeah.
This is a little weird, and I need to take a moment to make sure that I have all the data to continue making decisions.
Exactly. Now, notably, how does John deal with a Resolve Wandering Emperor?
So one of the reasons to play this deck is that Vanishing Verse is one of the best interaction spells in the format. Just wholeheartedly. Just lots of monocolored permanents that are expensive, and putting them in exile is good.
Okay, it looks like John is going to be resolving a Bring to Light here. I think he's thinking about Valky or Tybalt as he's more likely to cast.
Yep. And this is exactly what we were talking about with wanting Freyer to have a counterspell up right here.
Yeah.
It's so easy to... It doesn't even have to be the Dovin's Veto or the Absorb that's in the hand. It can even be a Censor would have countered that Bring to Light. And so just tapping out and getting punished.
Yeah, now Freyer's going to have his own problem getting rid of John's Planeswalker, as Tybalt has entered and created an emblem and exiled. I think that's another Wandering Mind and a Temporal Lockdown.
Yep.
So Tybalt will allow John to play those cards without the specific mana cost that the cards need.
Right. Still, you have to pay the amount of mana.
Correct.
But not the specific
colors.
But
not the colors.
Yes.
Even for his own spells, which is very funny.
Right.
Very funny. Okay, it looks like a counter is being put on the Samurai?
Yes.
The Samurai.
Nailed it. Nailed it.
And taking a swing at this Tybalt. You've got a Castle Ardenvale, notably no planes in play. At least not for Freyer. John does have that Sacred Foundry. So John's going to start by ticking up Tybalt, hitting a Sensor, and I believe that's a full art Vanishing Verse.
I think you got it.
That's what it looks like to me.
I did not even have a guess. So.
Yeah, I think it's an extended or borderless Vanishing Verse.
Yep, I believe you're correct.
Again, I think John is pretty heavily favored here. Freyer's list doesn't look like it has very many good answers to this Tybalt. At least game one.
Yep.
Like Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, tucking it, or potentially beating it down with some Shark Typhoon or Samurai Beats. But other than that, this is there is a Detention Sphere.
Detention Sphere, Soul Partition, and then counter on the recast.
Sure, the recast also does cost 7 mana.
9, right?
Oh, 9 mana.
Yeah, because it gets the 2 bonus. Yeah.
Soul Partition would actually be huge here.
Yep. Yeah.
So it looks like Vanishing Verse has come down, trying to target the Wandering Emperor, which is getting Dovin vetoed. And John, thinking about his follow-up. John, unfortunately, holds his hands pretty close to his heart, so I having a hard time making them out.
Yeah.
It's also the fact that John plays with alt-art everything.
Yep. Only borderless, only extended, only that weird Sacred Lair that you've only seen once.
Okay, so another Vanishing Verse taking out this. I believe that's a Secret Lair Dreadbore.
Yes, that is correct.
And I cannot make out the other card. But again, this doesn't look that great for John. Is John minusing the Tybalt on the token?
I don't think so. I don't know why there's not a dice on it, though.
The die is move.
Oh.
It's just forward. It's just above it.
Huh.
And
that wasn't the die from the Wandering Emperor?
Oh, it could have been. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure where the Tybalt die went.
I'm not sure. Maybe that's he did start by plussing it.
Oh, it's just blending in with the art. It's on 6.
I see it. My goodness. That's one of those optical illusions. That's, no way.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Oh, it was on 5. Okay. So now it's
it's on 6.
Right, yeah, it was on 6. It's taken 3.
It is taken 3.
The same.
Okay, so Freyer has foretold a card, of which there are no other foretell cards in his deck than Behold the Multiverse. Obviously, John won't know that, but it's just a Behold the Multiverse over there. It looks like he has picked up a Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, and he's leaving up 2 Absorbs and a Supreme Verdict here. So, again, this is definitely favoring John with this Tybalt. He just draws 2 cards a turn, basically. Yep. You can play lands off of Tybalt as well?
Yes. I believe that is his opponent's Deserted Beach that just entered play?
Yes, I believe so.
Yep, and then casting the Fable of the Mirror Breaker.
We'll see if this resolves or if Freyer wants to fight over it.
True. John still does have 4 mana. It looks like the token's coming into play, so the Fable had resolved.
Yep. John with his massive Goblin token. Not compensating for anything.
Only compensating for how much he loves board games.
That's true.
Yep.
It looks like Dreadbore might be this. Okay, he has picked up the 2nd copy of Dreadbore. 80 cards, by the way.
Yep. And holding the Dreadbore when it was time to target a Wandering Emperor, because Dreadbore can kill Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, and Vanishing Verse cannot.
Okay, it looks like Freyer tried to cast Absorb and has 2 white sources and a blue source. So not a legal play.
Yeah. And we could have foretold our card with any color of mana.
Yes, we could have.
Had to.
And it looks like he just let it resolve and didn't cast the Behold during our turn.
Yep, and then we moved to our turn, cast it to Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, and John got to spend the Censor that was in exile on his Tybalt because Freyer has missed a few lands. So that is devastating.
Yeah, I can't imagine Freyer's going to be able to come back from this one.
Yes, I would agree. Just kind of should have had a counter up on the bring to late turn, and John has gotten to run away with this game.
Yeah, this this problem really just stemmed from Freyer tapping out on turn 4 for no real discernible reason. I assume he was just putting John on his own counter spells and thought that resolving the Wandering Emperor was better than leaving up Absorb, but as we can see, John really has the ability to punish you if you tap out. Now he's getting to cast Freyer's Teferi. And John's probably having the time of his life.
Oh
here.
yes, oh yes.
Yeah.
John and I are gonna really enjoy talking about this match afterwards. It's gonna be good.
Okay, he's casting a Wandering Mind here. John has 47,000 cards in hand, revealing Bring to Light here. He's gonna remember to untap those 2 lands with his Teferi, right?
You think so?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
I'm a betting man.
Yeah. I mean,
and the first point of damage coming across, right? Because everything else was pointed at Planeswalkers.
Yep. He remembered his Censor in Exile, which is the opponent's card on the stack, which I think there's a lot of people who would not remember. And
yes.
There's the untap trigger.
Yeah, including Freyer. Freyer forgot that there was a Censor there.
Right.
So, and Freyer drawing a second Supreme Verdict, not really what we're looking for here. If I was Freyer, I would have just scooped up here. These games are going to take a long time, and you really do not want to have a draw in this at this point when both players are 2-1.
Yep, you might have to win a game in your postboard games with the Teferi emblem. It'll go on for a while.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. It looks like the Wandering Emperor, Shark Typhoon, and 1 Castle Ardenvale, 2 Hall of the Storm Giants are the win conditions for Freyer. And I will say that Hall definitely helps these blue-white players close.
Yes. So. And same with the threats that I think will be coming in from the sideboard, like Lyra, Baneslayer, and the new Teferi.
Yeah, I don't even know if I don't know if Freyer's going to bring in the Dawnbringer and the Baneslayer Angel. I think those are probably more slanted for the aggressive decks, just because John, especially seeing multiple of these Vanishing Verses.
Yeah.
I think that's probably going to be left there, but additional Planeswalkers, especially in Teferi, Temporal, Pilgrim, of which we're both well versed, and I'm sure you could tell me exactly what that card does.
I believe in myself.
Okay.
I could do it.
All right.
Yeah. If
no hint of sarcasm here.
But the real card that John would have a difficult time dealing with from the sideboard would be Dream Trawler. I said Angels more for the aggressive matchups, and Dream Trawler actually has the ability to gain hexproof and can't even get targeted by Vanishing Verse anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. I wonder if we see. I'm assuming that John's going to bring in some Pithing Needles for the sideboarded games, and I wonder if after a while we get to see a Pithing Needle on Dream Trawler.
Ooh, that would be very cool.
Yeah.
I think the more likely one is Dream Trawler taken with the Thoughtseize, but
sure. John continuing to play with his food here, just casting every spell that he possibly can. He definitely doesn't need to do this. He can probably just take up this Teferi for the rest of his life, plus this Tibalt will get to ultimate at some point.
I feel like this is a great time to point out that John was offered to be in the booth today, and he said, no, I would like to play. I love Magic, and I want to play my games and come and compete. And he's just having so much fun today.
All right, and we do have a Console of Allocation hitting the battlefield. And I'm sure it doesn't look like Freyer needs to read that card. I think he's really just head in hands. The game is over. On it, like I said, I would be gone. I would be into game 2.
Yes,
there's no way this is good for Freyer.
Oh, we're responding to our Teferi trigger?
Are we going to Odawara the Tibalt? Okay, I guess. Fine. It's okay.
It's a game action. It doesn't trigger Campbell.
It does not trigger Campbell, and it does mean that Freyer Supreme Verdict next turn will actually do something reasonable to alleviate the board state. But John is going to discard here, and that was a land. So it's not like John has a bunch of fatal pushes or abrupt decays that just have no text. He's very clearly just so ahead here.
Yep, I believe we know that there's a Bring to Light in his hand that he had revealed, and then
Yes.
we still have his opponent's Teferi sitting in play, putting extra cards in his hand, and the 3 cards with the Tybalt emblem can be cast even while Tybalt's not in play.
Ooh, we have a Rest in Peace resolving from Freyer. Freyer playing 2 main deck Rest in Pieces today. It's a very, very powerful card in the metagame. Does shut off a lot of the same things that people are playing Misery Shadow for.
And John thinking that Rest in Peace is going to prevent something that he wants to do, so it's going away.
Okay. Well, to be fair, this Abrupt Decay probably not getting better than that as well. But again, John has 5 plus at least 5 additional mana than Freyer does this turn, plus an active Planeswalker, and I would assume 8 more cards in hand than his opponent.
Yep.
So we're just in the I'm going to cast my Tybalt for 5 red-black and activate its ability. Get a second Tybalt emblem.
Nice.
Yeah. Again, I if I was in Freyer's spot, I would be out of here concerned about winning 3 games in time.
Yep.
But some players like to have their opponents kill them, and it's completely a defensible position.
Yep. Just to talk about John's deck a little bit more, another way that this is in my opinion, the most powerful Nib-to-Light deck that you can play is that the cards that you're filling your deck with to get to 80 cards, the Fable and the Wandering Emperor, they all get flickered with your Yorion. So your companion is not just a random 5/5 that you get for free, as Potter and I were talking about with Gigantha, but it's actually a synergistic piece that in games where you're at parity, you're going to buy it and pull ahead by flickering multiple Wandering Emperors and a Fable.
Sure, similar to the modern deck with Yorion, where you would play incidental things like Abundant Growth.
Exactly.
And Spreading Seas and some of the older variants. So, yeah, makes a lot of sense. My gripe with this type of deck has always been that it's very inconsistent, and adding the additional 20 cards obviously does add some additional inconsistency, even if they're things that smooth out your draws like Fable.
Absolutely.
And again, you just see a pass from Freyer. John casting this Bring to Light. Looks like it's going to try to get absorbed. I can't see if John has acquired another counterspell off of the top of his library. I don't think so.
Yeah. I think it's been lands and permanents.
Yeah. John has acquired Freyer's singleton copy of just Detention Spear, though. So.
Absorb, countering Bring to Light.
Now, the important thing is here, the Rest in Peace that was played will stop this Tybalt ultimate from going buck wild. But I don't think it matters at all, as John attacks and creates treasure token number 3 of the match.
Joe, can you educate me on what Tybalt's ultimate is?
Tybalt's ultimate is exile both players' graveyards.
Okay.
Add 3 red mana to your mana pool, and then you can cast cards as the Tybalt emblem allows. You can cast all of the cards that have been exiled. So you can just cast anything that has been cast during the course of the game, and you get a little bit of a boost as well. So you get your 3 mana for free. Soul Partition, the draw for Freyer here. So, okay. All right. Freyer's finally giving it up. We're going to go on to game 2, and we get to talk about some sideboard stuff. So we already talked a little bit about Freyer's sideboard. We expect to see some Teferi Temporal Pilgrim. Elspeth Conquers Death is another huge one. I would assume Narset Part of Reveals as just an efficient 2-for-1. I don't think it really impacts anything that John's got going on with the...
Except his opponent's Teferi.
Sure, of course. Yes.
And it does turn off the second trigger on Fable.
Sure, yes, it does. It does do that. And John's deck just has a hard time attacking Narset. Like
Yep.
if it's played on turn 3, it's going to be a difficult card for John to deal with.
Yep.
I would assume the 4th Dovin's Veto,
Mhm.
probably the 2 Mystical Disputes, the Disdainful Stroke, the Ether Gust.
Mhm.
What do you think about the Detention Sphere? The second Detention Sphere?
I think we got a lot of cards to bring in, and I don't know whether we get to the point where we have a card we want to take out for detention.
Sure. I can definitely see that.
Because we were talking about these cheap counter spells, but they are so impactful in these post-board games.
For sure.
Especially the ones that care about colors, like just all of your spells happen to be all of the colors.
Yes.
So they get tagged by Mystical Dispute and Aether Gust. So.
Yes, exactly. So for things that he's going to want to take out, I would imagine this temporary lockdown, probably trim on some Supreme Verdicts. It's probably fine to have 1 or 2. The Rest in Pieces I don't think are super impactful.
Agreed.
And then I don't think I honestly don't think something like Soul Partition is something that you want. That's more of, again, a stopgap against the more aggressive decks. March of Otherworldly Light is probably too inefficient. And yeah, Farewell is definitely going to be a powerful card against John.
Yep.
It's one of those things where John can set up a huge board, have a bunch of good plans against it, and Farewell will just come down and reset everything. Now, let's see. What does John have in the sideboard? He's got the Pithing Needles we talked about, some Mystical Disputes, some Thoughtseizes, a 3rd Campbell, and I think that's probably all we're going to see here. Probably trim on stuff like some Sylvan Caryatids, and the Extinction Event and the Supreme Verdict that are in the main deck. Probably get rid of this Abrupt Decay.
Yep.
The Kolaghan's Command is... that's interesting, because, it's always a 2-for-1. But
right.
I feel like generally John's stuff is not going to die. Like a lot of the blue-white stuff exiles. So, I don't know, Kolaghan's Command might be the next cut. Not entirely sure there.
Yeah.
A card that we could see that matters a lot here is the Celestis. Because if John can get the Celestis in play, Freyer's going to have a hard time just keeping up with the card advantage that card provides. And I know I've talked with John, and I'm sure you talked with John about it before, but he said that the Celestis is the best card in his deck in multiple matchups.
Yes, yeah.
To the point where he's considered playing 2.
That is correct.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, we talked about how this deck is clunky and can, just have certain draws that don't work, and draws with Sylvan Caryatid or draws with the Celestis just have such a higher likelihood to work, because they produce all 5 colors of mana and unlock your spells.
Exactly. But Sylvan Caryatid, not the thing you want to be doing here.
Right. Yeah, we it's 40 mana sources or 41 with the Celestis, so just kind of want to have more business spells against my control opponent.
For sure. Although if your opponent taps out for Wandering Up around turn 4, it doesn't matter.
That is true. My Tybalt resolves, and I will have cards forever.
Okay. So it's going to be impossible to tell if John has all of the types of mana that he needs, although it looks like he didn't. I'm going to guess, based on this mulligan, that John did not like his hand. Very astute observation, I know.
Yeah.
It does look like Freyer is keeping.
Okay.
And like I said, even with that win, I still would think Freyer is heavily favored in this matchup. Even post-board, I just don't think that the tools that John gets are efficient enough to really help here.
I agree. However, I'm not sure that I have faith in Freyer to be able to win 2 games in the amount of
time. Left. Sure, that is certainly possible. And again, a big reason why I advocated for conceding earlier.
Yes. Yep. Exactly. And that's something that from the booth actually comes up a decent amount of the time, that just part of being in the game is realizing how you're going to be able to win the game, and once you can't win the game anymore, you're in a tournament. So
exactly.
Yeah, just move on.
And especially with how efficient and powerful threats have become over the last 5 years or so.
Mhm.
Games go to time way more often than they used to.
Yeah.
It's way harder to get rid of everyone's resources. I believe John is going to 5 here, which is obviously not great. Does look like there are 28 minutes left in the round, which means game 1 took 22 minutes.
Yep.
So yeah. All right, it looks like there's an easy bottom for John, and then he is thinking about the last card here. Now, again, if this goes quickly,
Right.
Freyer could definitely pull this one out.
Yep. If I'm John, I am sitting there until Freyer has dealt lethal damage to me.
Sure. The exact opposite of what we told Freyer to do.
Yeah. Because now John's in a different position. He's one game one.
All right, we've started with an irrigated farmland and a Zagoth Triumph. See what Freyer can do here. Looks like John's got a Fabled Passage, and I think another Triumph in hand. Looks like Endatha Triumph, I think.
I don't think that Freyer will get punished for this too much, but
yes,
if I had a 2-mana interaction spell in my hand, I'd be paying 2 life on that Hallowed Fountain. Sometimes even if I didn't.
Interesting. So my read is definitely wrong, and John does not have another tap land in hand because there's no way he would play Fabled Passage over a Triumph here.
Yep.
So Freyer looks like he has at least a Dovin's Veto in hand. I think a Behold the Multiverse. He does have 4 of that card, so
yeah.
Looks like that's a mountain for John.
Mm-hmm.
One of the Kamigawa Neon Dynasty lands.
Yeah. And one thing that impressed me was both of these players' basics. So what's your favorite basic, Joe?
Oh, I'm very basic. I'm an alpha beta guy.
Okay. Okay.
But outside of that, there are some APAC lands that I really like.
Nice.
Typically, I can be found with my either 4th edition or revised Black Border foreign basics because they're significantly cheaper than actually buying alpha or beta basics. They just have the same art.
Nice. And that's what we really care about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I believe I'm a Forest Sea enjoyer from Alpha. to be specific.
Yeah.
All right, it looks like Wandering Mind hitting the table. Notably, not a non-creature spell that can be tagged with the Dovin's Veto.
True.
And yeah, we see a Pithing Needle like we expected, and a Shark Typhoon cycled for 1. Not great in the face of Wandering Mind, which is a 2/2 flyer.
2/1.
It's a 2/1 flyer?
Yes.
Oh my god, it is great. Never mind.
Yes.
God.
But the Wandering Mind picking up Pithing Needle is exactly why we think that Wandering Mind is so smart in this deck, is that Wandering Mind finds you your cheap and efficient interaction.
Sure.
So it gets you your Vanishing Verses and your 2-mana interaction spells, but then also finds your sideboard cards, your Pithing Needle, your Thought Seizes, your Mystical Disputes.
Yep. Makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I know John's put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into this deck.
Oh, yeah.
We've got a shock from a Expedition Blood Crypt. Oh, almost. All right, John's really testing me here. And we're casting this Pithing Needle. Let's see if this is enough to fight over. I believe Freyer, that's a Wandering Emperor and a Dovin's Veto on the right side of his hand. So he presumably wanted this turn to cast Wandering Emperor. We'll see if we get what Pithing Needle's naming here. Very curious.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna bet it's just Teferi Hero of Dominaria. Yep.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense. And return some Yorion to hand. Okay.
We do have confirmation that Pithing Needle named Teferi Hero of Dominaria.
It was very smart from John to Pithing Needle before adding the Yorion, because I think if he had tapped out to play the Pithing Needle, Freyer would have immediately put the Wandering Emperor into play. And this gave John the ability to potentially snipe a Wandering Emperor here. Like if he had named Wandering Emperor, I don't think Freyer had a good turn 4 play.
Yeah. But I think John just doesn't care about Wandering Emperor.
That is totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like Wandering Emperor came down, made a Samurai, and then put a counter and beat for 3, which means John should be falling to 15. Wandering Emperor, Wandering Mind. Sorry, not interested in being on the chump train.
Nope.
So it looks like another Fabled Passage from John. Let's see what he wants to cast here. But like, this is the problem here, right? Because Freyer is ahead on board, and a lot of the impactful spells that John have here are 4 or 5 mana, and Freyer can just Dovin's Veto, or Censor, or Absorb, or Mystical Dispute.
Yep. And even if we had 2 spells, the cheapest things that we're playing to the board are 3 mana. So
Exactly.
we're a turn off double spelling.
Yep. So it looks like just casting this Yorion here. Pretty interesting.
I think it's a bait spell. I think we probably know that we're gonna have to try to
Freyer, that's not how you can cast Absorb. That is not how we
There
can
we
cast
go.
Absorb.
Yep. And it really matters if we need to cast that Dovin's Veto
Correct.
later.
Yes.
Yeah. But probably won't need to with John tapped out.
Yes. Field of Ruin / the new Demolition Field are very powerful cards in the blue-white control decks, but they do matter for the mana base. They definitely do matter for the mana base.
Yep. I think we've heard Potter say on cast before, but
Ooh, looks like Soul Partition targeting the Pithing Needle. So I would imagine that Freyer here is going to be casting this Teferi.
I think the Wandering Mind actually is.
Who is that? Sorry, that is the Wandering Mind.
To the Exile.
Yeah. All right. So Freyer
beating in,
beating down. Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm on board with this.
Yeah. He's got the clock in mind.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so it looks like he has an Otawara, Dovin's Veto. Not sure what the last card is, but that was an attack for 5. Because the shark is now a 2. I think is where the counter went. I think that's what happened because Freyer wants John's play next turn to be cast the Wandering Mind with the tax, and then he can still plus on the shark and still attack for 6, and the Wandering Mind still has 0 good blocks.
Yep.
Okay, so we do have one of the sideboard cards from John Goss, a signed Thoughtseize, very important, which is going to get Dovin's vetoed. We'll see what John has to follow up.
Yep. And
it looks like Bring to Light.
Nice. I think there was another Absorb, but I'm not 100% sure.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
That's an Otawara, and I think that's a March.
Yeah. Yep.
So
it's gonna resolve.
Let's see. Is John just gonna grab Niv Mizzet? Okay.
Let's see how many cards we're drawing.
Yeah. Again, this might not matter because if Freyer does have Otawara plus March, he can Otawara this, attack for 6 next turn.
Yep.
And then just have March up. And have potentially either of his creatures can be lethal with the Wandering Emperor.
Yep.
Looks like Kolaghan's Command and another Wandering Mind are the hits for John.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see exactly what Freyer wants to do here. I think I'm easily slamming this Otawara on the Niv Mizzet. I think if John's best play next turn is to replay Niv Mizzet, that's great for you.
Yep. I absolutely agree, especially with the March in hand.
Yep.
And we chose the beatdown route, so we gotta commit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, it looks like Freyer has decided against it. Ooh, he did draw the Dream Trawler. And okay, so we're main phase casting this, putting a counter on the shark, and attacking for 6. John falling to 4.
Nice. And Freyer, I guess, just deciding that why put it back in the hand when I can deal with it permanently? I know John's not going to interact at all. And then we still have Otawara to bounce any other blockers.
Yeah. I think I'm still a fan of Otawara end of turn, because if we Otawara end of turn, then our draw of Dream Trawler here is obviously we can just potentially have 3 lethal attackers next turn.
Yeah.
It looks like Wandering Mind is going to be John's play. Freyer is tapped out, so yeah, looks at 6 cards.
It's a lot of
many.
cards, right?
It's so many.
Yeah. when the numbers get that big, you do really start to cut down on the variance that 80 cards provides because you're looking at so many cards.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see exactly what John can put together here, but
And I think we see what Freyer was going for last game with the Wandering Emperor.
yes,
It's just the card has flash.
the card does have flash.
Yeah, cast it in the end step.
The other consideration here is Freyer could be making it so it looks like John has multiple blockers, and then he's able to Otawara just the flying blocker to hit John for exactly 4 with. So
the counter.
Yeah. Ooh, okay. Leyline Binding is a great hit for John here.
Oh yeah.
I assume with how his mana base is constructed, this always costs 1 mana.
That's the goal. I think we're 1 off here. I think we don't have a plains in play. I believe that's a Sun Petal Grove. Oh nope, just put a plains in play.
Sorry, there is a Rogrin Triumph that has entered the battlefield.
Yep. So it is now a 1 mana spell.
Yes. Now, notably, John will need to cast this Leyline Binding during his turn. Because if he waits to cast it during Freyer's turn, Freyer can respond to the trigger on the stack and Otawara it, and his creature will not leave play.
Yep.
However, it looks like John is casting a Fable. And yeah, we're going to, assuming Freyer sees the line, John has already played his lane for the turn. He can just Otawara the Wandering Mind, put the counter on the Shark, and we're on to game 3.
Yep.
And that was pretty quick.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
And really, like I said, heads up play by Freyer, putting the first counter on the Shark with this plan in mind.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Making it so that the Wandering Mind couldn't block efficiently on any of the creatures at any point. Definitely a huge play.
And yeah, just clean with the Wandering Emperor there. John's deck was a little clunky. We saw him mulligan to 5. Yep. So hopefully we don't see the deck have those issues in our game 3, and we'll get to see a nice tight game.
Yeah, I wonder if Freyer is just not bringing in stuff like Narset here and just wants to be the aggressor.
I think that makes sense, especially I love having Teferi Temporal Pilgrim for that. It's like,
oh yeah, you were supposed to explain what that card was.
Oh yeah, I got it. Okay.
All right.
3 colorless, 2 blue, 5 total mana. It's got 4 loyalty counters when it enters play.
Yep.
It has a rider that says whenever you draw a card, it gets a loyalty counter.
Yep.
It zeros to draw a card. It minuses 2 to make a 2/2 with vigilance that also, whenever you draw a card, gets a counter.
Okay.
And then it has -12, something really big that bounces a lot of permanents.
All right. Well, hopefully we'll get to see Teferi Temporal Pilgrim here.
What's my grade? How did I do?
Oh, you A-.
A-. Yeah, I'll take it. All
right. So it looks like John has led with a Zagoth Triumph. Freyer played an Irrigated Farmland, and John has led with a Thoughtseize, revealing a pretty unthoughtseizable hand in 2 Behold the Multiverse and 2 Wandering Emperor. John falling to 18. Ooh! And then 16 to Pithing Needle, both of the Wandering Emperors in Freyer's hand. Now, Freyer, I assume, is just gonna, I'm gonna foretell this card face up, basically. All right, yeah, that's pretty brutal. That is pretty brutal.
Absolutely.
And Kambal enters the battlefield. That is not good. No. And Freyer has drawn 2 lands from this point. That is not how Hall of the Storm Giants works.
Not quite.
And we'll see if John corrects him. Okay. All right, there we go.
I believe we have our fellow commentator observing the match and making sure that everything happens correctly.
Okay, so it looks like John is going to be playing this Wandering Mind. And this is definitely a much better start for John here.
Oh, yeah.
He's got some pressure. He's got a little bit of a sort of taxing effect with this combo, and that pithing needle is huge.
Yep. Have a leyline binding rolled up for any potential Farrier of Dominaria or big shark token that might come in a couple turns.
Exactly. And John's played an Isolated Chapel into Zeator's Proving Ground, so just perfect mana.
Yep.
Perfect mana. It looks like Freyer's going to take 2 and reveal the card that we all know.
John triggering Campbell before the card's even revealed.
Correct, yep. So John going to 18, Freyer going to 18. Can't see what he's looking at. Again, he has just lands and Wandering Emperor in hand. Okay, so it looks like bottom one, top one. One is Narset Parter of Veils. Interesting. So he did bring that in. The other is Absorb. So we've drawn Absorb, Narset, and a Dovin's Veto. Got a Glacial Fortress, and this is kind of rough.
Yeah, those cards that you're talking about that Freyer drew, they don't deal with Wandering Mind or Campbell in play.
Correct, yeah. I'm a little surprised to see him keep Narset. I feel like once you get behind on board, Narset is not really the thing you want to be doing here, especially in the face of Comball. It does help you dig towards potential answers. Like I said, we're not sure how many types of like Verdict Freyer has. I'm sure that he still has Farewell in his deck, but I don't know how many copies of Verdict he's
Yeah, we didn't see any in game 2, and yeah.
Okay, so it looks like Absorb here
On the Celestis?
the Celestis, gaining Freyer exactly 1 life.
Yep.
And gaining John 2 life.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect card. Ooh, is that a March? I think that was
I believe
March.
so. Yeah, which is one thing we need to start answering these things in play.
For sure. Interesting. I wonder if we play the Narset.
Trigger Campbell.
Yes. Yeah, make sure you pay for the soup.
It's a little hot when you touch it.
A little hot. Okay. We do have Dovin's Veto up this turn. Again, Freyer kind of needs a sweeper here. It looks like that's another March revealed.
So if we're ready to pitch some cards, we can cast one of those this turn.
Well, we can also get rid of the Pithing Needle. Right.
True.
That was my thought here.
Yeah, to unlock the Wandering Emperors.
Okay, it looks like John is just gonna Leyline Binding the Narset here. I think that is totally fine. I don't think Freyer should fight over this at all. I think it's way scarier. Basically anything that John does with 5 mana is way scarier than this.
Absolutely.
Although John does only have 2 cards in hand, so I guess the idea would be if we're countering this, it potentially saves us 4 life. Because I'm assuming John is going to have to attack this Narset.
Okay, because he doesn't want Freyer to have more cards.
Yeah. But Freyer is getting down there. And John might just attack Freyer anyway. Because all of the good answers Freyer is going to have to the board are going to ding them. So
Yep.
Now, notably, the Wandering Emperor does help you gain some life. So John knows that worst case scenario, like if Freyer has nothing else in hand, he can play March on Pithing Needle and then play Wandering Emperor minus on the combo to lose only 2 life during the turn. But yep.
It's an extra thing that's going to need to be answered.
Okay, so Wandering Mind, Kolaghan's Command. Yeah, John's shocking here to cast this. So it looks like Wandering Mind and Kolaghan's Command are the 2 cards added, which Kolaghan's Command dealing 2 damage.
Maybe how this game ends.
Could be how this game ends, yeah. Okay, so it looks like John decided to split the difference, minusing or attacking Narset down to 2 and dealing Freyer 2, which I think is a pretty interesting decision. Like we said, John isn't super impacted by Narset's rider, as you called it.
Right.
So I guess it makes a little bit of sense here.
Yeah, just make sure that Narset doesn't draw another card and continue the beatdown plan, because
exactly.
we know about the one march that either we're thinking will target the Pithing Needle to unlock the Wandering Emperor, or if we're just deciding that the Wandering Emperors won't be activated, maybe it targets Campbell first? I'm not sure, though. It doesn't seem like we're making it out of this game unless we're activating some Wandering Emperors.
Yeah. I don't know that we're making out of this game at all.
Right, because 2 mana exile the Pithing Needle and then cast Wandering Emperor. That's 4 damage right there. You're only answering 1 creature and then taking 4.
Yeah, so we could kill so we can kill the Pithing Needle, go to 5, and then play the Wandering Emperor when John attacks, and kill the Niv Mizzet, which puts us at 5, and then we take 4 down to 1. Yeah, okay. Yep, Freyer seeing the writing on the wall here. That early combo. Really just doing a lot of work.